Even Amazon is not immune from the nationwide, or I guess actually worldwide, labor shortage that's going on right now. Amazon right now is trying to hire 125,000 workers to prepare for Q4 and the holiday season. And to attract workers among this labor shortage, they've upped their pay to $18 per hour. You guys probably remember back in 2018 or 2019, they had upped their pay to $15 per hour. In order to try to get people for the holiday season, they have upped their pay to $18 per hour. They're offering a $3,000 signing bonus, and they're offering tuition reimbursement for some employees. And we'll see if that's enough to even bring on more employees. Seems like you guys enjoy these stories about the labor shortages going on. I find this whole thing kind of interesting. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. So I figured we'd cover this story. I have a couple more stories like this. There's actually no shortage of stories like this, but I have a couple more stories like this I'm going to share with you guys in the coming days. This whole thing started out as, Taco Bell's drive-thru is closed at 6 o'clock instead of staying open till 2 in the morning. And it's like, oh, wow, that's crazy. But, it's just Taco Bell. People don't want to work at Taco Bell. But then, okay, Chick-fil-A is having to shut down their dining rooms because they don't have enough employees. And we saw more and more stories like this spreading out across fast food and restaurants and the hospitality industry. Recent surveys of workers have shown that over 50% of employees don't want to return to the hospitality industry. So there's kind of a couple different things at play, right? Like I think the enhanced unemployment caused some people to stay at home. That recently went away. But even beyond that, a lot of people don't want to return to the hospitality industry. So we're going to be seeing a shift of people who don't want to work in the hospitality industry moving over to other industries, right? But we're also hearing that, people aren't willing to do jobs for, a low amount of money or what's not a living wage, but we're seeing companies raise their pay and raise their pay and raise their pay some more, and they're still struggling to get workers. So, I don't think we can really pinpoint one issue that's causing this, and I'm not really sure how this is going to be solved. We're already hearing that the holiday season is going to be a disaster in terms of there's a lot of supply chain shortages and logistical issues going on. There's worker shortages. I know FedEx and UPS have said that they're gonna have trouble and they're gonna struggle to get all the packages delivered this holiday season. So it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out. This past Sunday was my grandma's birthday, and I was over at my aunt's house celebrating her birthday with family. And my aunt was telling me, some of you guys who are from the Chicagoland area may be familiar with this pizza chain. There's a pizza chain called Moretti's. There might be one or two in the city, but I think most of them are in like the northwest suburbs, like Mount Prospect, Schaumburg. I know the ones that I normally see when I go boating up on Fox Lake or up in like Lake in the Hills and stuff like that. But my aunt said there was a sign in the store. They're paying $30 per hour at a pizza shop. Now, I've worked in pizza shops before. Granted, it's been a number of years, but I think I used to work for Papa John's. I was making $7.50 an hour. I think in college I was working for some pizza shops making $8 or $9 per hour. I'm guessing in recent years, maybe $10 an hour, $11 an hour, $13 an hour is what somebody might make working in a pizza shop. This pizza shop, Moretti's, is paying $30 per hour, which is insane. And then if you work there and you refer an employee, a lot of employers will give you some type of bonus for referring a worker, referring a friend or family member. If you refer somebody to work there, you wind up getting free pizza for a year. And I thought, wow, they're having to offer $30 per hour, and they're offering free pizza for a year if you bring in somebody else to work as well. And we're just seeing more and more stories about this. Initially it was restaurants having to limit hours, some restaurants limiting menu options because they're short staffed, but now we're seeing a lot of businesses that are closing down entirely. I saw an article the other day about a donut shop it was somewhere out east, either New York, New Jersey, maybe Virginia, had been open for 77 years, and they recently shut their doors. Now, that one's not that surprising. I love a good bakery, and when I'm talking about a good bakery, I'm not talking about Great Harvest Bread Company or Panera or Dunkin' Donuts or some chain bullshit. I'm talking about like a real small family-owned bakery. There used to be a lot of great bakeries in Chicago, and slowly, a lot of them are shutting down. I think that's less, I'm sure the labor shortage isn't helping, but a lot of these places, you got a baker who's been doing this his entire life, and his kids or his family don't want to take over the business. Being a baker is a tough job. My grandpa used to take me to a lot of bakeries near him, like every Saturday or Sunday morning, to get donuts or get rolls, as he'd call them. And a lot of these bakeries, we talk to them, they wake up at 12 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and go in and start baking donuts and stuff for the next day. So It's kind of a tough job. It's kind of a tough lifestyle, and I think a lot of the next generation isn't wanting to continue this business. So I think that's the main reason why those businesses are shutting down. But I saw a barbecue place in Florida had to shut down. They continued raising their wages and raising their wages and raising their wages. They were the highest paying restaurant in the area, but they still couldn't attract employees. And it's not just Florida though. Out in Santa Monica, California, another restaurant recently shut down. Couldn't find workers. So this seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. Um, I know I titled this article, even Amazon isn't immune from the labor shortage. Um, and that kind of gives the idea like Amazon's a great place to work and it's surprising that people don't want to work there. Obviously, Amazon doesn't treat their workers that well. We hear stories about people pissing in bottles and shitting in bags. But in the grand scheme of things, there are worse places to work than Amazon, if we're being fair. $15 per hour is more than a lot of other small businesses and things like that are going to pay. I believe Amazon does offer health insurance. I think they stopped giving the free stock away each year, but they used to give a free stock away each year to each employee. And even Amazon is having to do better on pay and wages. I'll be curious to see how a company like UPS is going to fare, because UPS is a tough job. My girlfriend worked for UPS for a number of years. I worked for UPS for a short bit when I was younger. UPS, when you're hired on, nobody's hired on as full-time. Everybody's hired on as part-time. Normally it's shitty shifts, like you'll come in at like 2 a.m. and work till 6 a.m. You're never really guaranteed a certain amount of hours. Like if they're really busy, you might get a full 6 hours, but on other days you'll be sent home after working 2 or 3 hours. Like, who wants to disrupt their life, wake up at 2 a.m. to go into a UPS warehouse, to work until 4 a.m. and then be sent home and you got 2 hours of work? Even today, UPS starts at $10 per hour, and UPS is a pretty physically demanding job. They don't let you bring your phone in there, so even though you're unloading trucks all night in the freezing cold, you don't even have like music to keep you entertained or a podcast. Because of their security practices, you're not allowed to bring a phone in there. Like, it's a pretty shitty place to work. So if Amazon's struggling to hire people at $18 an hour with a $3,000 signing bonus, I don't know how UPS is going to continue bringing people in to work 2 to 4 hour shifts for $10 per hour in the freezing cold at a physically demanding job. So I think this holiday season is going to be kind of a disaster. Let's hop into this article. So Amazon boosts pay and targets 125,000 hires amid labor shortage. Amazon Inc. boosted its pay as it looks to hire 125,000 warehouse and shipping workers amid a tight U.S. labor market. The e-commerce giant said starting wages for open jobs in logistics average $18 an hour, or 20% more than the $15 an hour base pay the company set back in 2018, with signing bonuses of as much as $3,000 in some locations. Earlier this month, Amazon pledged to hire 40,000 people to work and fill corporate and tech roles. A nationwide labor shortage has U.S. companies scrambling to find workers as the economy recovers from the pandemic. They're boosting pay, offering signing bonuses, and offering educational perks. In another effort to sweeten the pot and keep up with rivals, Amazon last week said it would pay college tuition for some frontline employees. Walmart Inc. in July said it would pay the cost of tuition and books for its hourly staffers. Target Corp said last month it would offer free undergraduate degrees to more than 340,000 employees at its stores. Amazon typically ramps up hiring in the fall to ensure it has enough workers for the crucial holiday shopping season, and often kicks that off with a string of announcements about its hiring goals. It's competitive out there, but we like that environment, said John Felton, a senior vice president of global delivery services. It's critical for us to make sure we are very competitive. We think that's the right kind of experience for employees, and it allows us to attract amazing, high-quality employees. Here's what's interesting. From internal Amazon documents, Amazon actually doesn't like to keep employees for the long term. Amazon likes to churn employees. Jeff Bezos kind of has this idea that employees get comfortable in a job and over time they get lazier, and he kind of likes a certain amount of attrition. I forget the exact date range. I don't know if it's 18 months or 3 years or 5 years, but Jeff Bezos doesn't actually like to keep long-term employees. He would rather get new employees in. He seems to feel that new employees are more motivated, or maybe are just kind of don't know the environment that well and are kind of walking on eggshells and are going to work harder and be more diligent. So it'll be interesting to see if amid this labor shortage, Amazon has to kind of start worrying a little bit more about retention as opposed to kind of having this endless line of workers coming through. The company has been on a recruiting tear as of late, adding more than 400,000 workers last year as the pandemic sent lockdown shoppers rushing online. Last year, Amazon added about one logistics facility per day and is likely on pace to exceed that total in 2021. The company said on Tuesday that it had opened more than 250 new fulfillment centers, sortation centers, delivery stations, and air cargo hubs in the U.S., and will open 100 additional buildings in September. The company employed 950,000 people in the U.S. at the end of June out of 1.3 million worldwide. Most of those people work in the company's massive logistics division, primarily in warehouses that store and pack items. Amazon shares were slightly up in New York on Tuesday morning, and the hiring spree Amazon has been roiled by labor unrest, including a failed attempt to unionize a facility in Alabama. Jeff Bezos earlier this year pledged to focus more on the welfare of Amazon workers, a sentiment echoed by his successor, Chief Executive Officer Andy Jassy. And, we kind of talked about how these labor issues are expanding beyond hospitality and retail and warehouse. A couple weeks ago, I think I put out the video. So Chicago bus drivers left. We already have this labor shortage, but now with companies trying to impose a vaccine mandate on people, a lot more people are quitting their jobs. I think 74 bus drivers quit in Chicago, meaning that on the first day of school, there weren't enough bus drivers to drive all the kids to school. And Chicago's Mayor Lori Lightfoot tried to get Uber and Lyft to drive kids to school. Not only is that fiscally or financially way more expensive than having kids on a bus, driving everybody individually. Uber doesn't allow kids under 18 to ride in cars. And, these drivers aren't vetted and checked in the same way that school bus drivers are. There have been grown adults who've been sexually assaulted, etc. by Uber drivers. And you're going to put young elementary school kids in cars with these stranger Uber drivers. Just seems like a weird plan. I think it's in New Jersey or New York. They're also having a problem hiring bus drivers. A bunch of their bus drivers quit amid the vaccine mandates. So they're actually having the National Guard drive kids to school. One thing that was weird about Chicago trying to get Uber drivers to drive kids to school, Uber drivers are not required to be vaccinated. So instead of having kids ride in a school bus with a bus driver who's unvaccinated, they're going to have kids ride in Ubers, which are smaller vehicles with less air circulation, and it makes less financial sense with drivers who are also unvaccinated. We're also seeing a shortage in hospitals across the country. There's a shortage of doctors and nurses. A lot of nurses and doctors are quitting over these vaccine mandates. And there was one hospital in upstate New York that has postponed, they're not going to allow it. They're going to stop delivering babies here in the next week because they don't have enough nurses to keep their maternity ward up. That was kind of a clickbait article. In reality, that hospital only had about 150 births per year. So it's not like they had a huge maternity ward to begin with. But nonetheless, it is kind of a shocking story. What's interesting is a lot of hospitals who are having nurses quit because of vaccine mandates are bringing in traveling nurses and not requiring them to be vaccinated, oftentimes paying up to $500 per day when you calculate in all the overtime and everything, plus getting huge signing bonuses. So instead of having your own unvaccinated worker work, you're going to bring in somebody from outside of the area, not make them get vaccinated, pay them 10 times what you're paying a normal nurse, plus a signing bonus. It's just a crazy world we're living in right now. One thing that we've been seeing or hearing a lot lately is I've been seeing a lot of articles saying that, enhanced unemployment ended on September 6th. And obviously some states ended earlier back in June and things like that. But we're not seeing the labor shortage problem correcting itself. And, I really don't know what to believe anymore. I think there's a lot of issues at play here. But I think one thing we do have to consider is that this is a problem a year and a half in the making. So to think that over the course of a week it's just going to be corrected because everybody's going to rush back into the workforce, I think it's going to take some time to get back to normal. It's like the eviction moratoriums have ended in a lot of states, but we don't have millions of homeless people, millions of newly homeless people on the streets. Why? Well, because even if somebody got foreclosed on today, by the time everything plays out in court, by the time the banks handle everything on their balance sheets, by the time that house actually makes it to market and somebody gets to buy it, that's going to be 2 or 3 years down the road from now. So the idea that a lot of these problems that were created over the last year and a half are going to sort themselves out over the course of a couple weeks, just isn't realistic. So I've been rambling long enough. That's all I got for you guys today. If you guys enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment down below. If you guys have stories about labor shortages in your area, at your workplace, if you are a business owner and you're having trouble hiring people, I'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment down below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.